For me here in Nova Scotia, the cyclocross season has come to an end with our final doubleheader weekend at York Redoubt, a great venue that treated me to my first ever top 10 finishes. Now typically, once cross season is over, a lot of us with dedicated cross bikes will give our bikes a spray down and then put them into storage to be forgotten about until fall of next season. In my experience of going this route, I'll end up coming to a bike that isn't ready to go for the season. And it'd be too late to lay out a budget to get it back to a season of racing shape. In this video I want to share my process of tearing down and assessing the damage the season has done to my bike, and putting together a budget that I get it back into racing condition. The first section I want to assess is the drivetrain. Mud, grit, and dust can be extremely hard on our chain, cassette, and chainrings. I know that this chain is fully worn out, but a way to check without a chain checker is to shift into the small cog and grab the chain at the chainring. If you notice some excessive pull away of the chain from the chainring, like there is here, then it's time to replace. Keep in mind that the cassette and the chain wear out together, so count on a cassette with your chain replacement as well in your budget. If you've removed your chain like I have, take the time to check the jockey wheels in your derailleur for any sort of friction. I've replaced mine not long ago, so I know they're good to go, and I don't have to replace them. Cables go through a lot of abuse through a season. Water and dirt can make their way in, corroding and creating friction. Friction compromises the indexing in your shifting and ruins smooth braking. For the ease and low cost of replacing cables, I recommend just budgeting for it. Brake pads are an easy check. Mud on a brake track basically acts as sandpaper and increases the wear quickly. If they're worn past the wear bars, put them on your budget. Check for play in your hubs by grabbing the wheel while it is in the dropout and try moving it laterally. If there's a clunking, consider a rebuild or replacement of your bearings. You're also going to want to check the wear that's happening on your rims, because like your brake pads, when mud gets on there, it creates a sandpaper-like effect. There'll be a wear mark somewhere on some rims. Other times you can just check by feeling. If it's not quite flat and you feel a bit of a dip, then you're probably ready to replace your rim. The grit of cyclocross is hard on bearings and can ruin them in a hurry. If your cranks aren't turning perfectly smooth and there's some crunching noise or some friction in them, then there's a good chance that it's time to replace your bottom bracket bearings. So because I could hear some noise, removing my crankset seemed to make sense, and removing it confirms my suspicion. The drive side is just crunchy, making all kinds of noise, and it's definitely time for a new bottom bracket. I'm also happy to pull it out to see that there's some murky water sitting in there, so it's nice to just pull some stuff apart and see if things are clean and still working well or not. The same thing goes for the headset. I do feel quite a bit of friction when turning around, and actually indexes itself to the perfect straight line. But that's not what we're looking for in a headset. So I'm going to pull this apart and see what kind of condition it's in. So as you can see, that's in pretty rough shape. I can't even get it to spin on itself. So it's done. It does need to be replaced. And there's actually all kinds of grit and grime sitting on this. So no matter how much you clean your bike after races, this is one of those areas that's going to get beat up pretty bad. So because I was actually tearing down my bike as I was assessing everything, it's in almost a pretty good position to give it an extremely detailed cleaning and to get all the trapped grit and dirt out of everything to ensure the bike feels new when it gets put back together. So what I'll do is pull the rest of the parts off, and then I can take the time to clean everything individually and make sure that it is perfect when it goes back together. So there we have it, fully torn down, ready to be cleaned, and starting to be prepped for a new season. What kind of damage is this assessment going to do to my wallet? Well, here's a very simple breakdown on what I would actually expect to spend on a lot of these parts I'm looking to replace. So in total, my budget's going to run around $275 plus or minus, depending on what kind of shopping around I do. $275 is a pretty manageable amount for even myself as a student to pick away at for an entire year, instead of scrambling last minute to get things gathered and fixed before the first race. In future videos, I'll be sure to show you how I put the bike back together and let you know how it works and whether or not the full teardown and assessment was really worth it. But considering the amount of troubles that I've had at beginnings of seasons by not doing this, I can't imagine that this is going to be a regrettable situation. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you with your own end of season assessment on your cross bike. Comment or like on this video below and feel free to subscribe to TSC for more content like this and not like this in the future.